In both the interview for my RA-ship at the Bank of Canada and for economists at the IMF, there was a common question. You get handed some code on your first day, you try to run it, and it crashes. What do you do? This is such a great interview question because when you start an economics job, you're almost never writing code from scratch, but are inheriting someone else's code. And I guarantee you that code will break. By the way, the wrong answer is, I'll ask my boss. That's the best way not to get hired. In today's video, I'm going to show you not only how to answer that interview question, but I will show you the steps to debug the most common errors in Stata. My boss was great. He later told me that if anyone had just simply answered, first, I would read the error message, he would have hired him on the spot. It sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't even read the error message, which will often tell you exactly what's wrong. The second thing is actually just locate the source of the error. It could be that the error is occurring where the code crashed. However, it could just be a logic error that showed up earlier in the code that is just causing the code to crash now. So often this involves running the code step by step. The last thing is just check every step to verify that it's actually doing what you intended. This involves reading the output window to make sure that the logic is correct, but also checking your data to make sure that the calculations are occurring exactly as you intended. All right, let's put this to practice. First, the most common setup error. You downloaded the materials, opened the zip file, and double-clicked the do file directly. Stop. Stata cannot see your files if they are trapped inside a zip file. Always right-click the folder and extract all before you start. Second, error 1B. If you open Stata from your desktop icon, Stata defaults to looking into your documents folder. It has no idea where your actual project files are. It is effectively blind. We can diagnose this by typing pwd, which stands for print working directory. If this path does not match your project folder, Stata will never find your data. The fix? Close Stata, go to the unzip folder, double-click the do file. Stata automatically sets the working directory to that folder. Also, check the paths. Even though we're in the correct working directory, Stata is looking for the data file in a subfolder called data. So all we need to do to correct this error is to remove the reference to the subfolder data so that Stata looks in the same folder as the working directory for a data file. The last thing here is always best practice when you have paths to use forward slashes. The reason is because forward slashes work universally across operating systems, whereas backslashes only work on Windows. We're trying to upload data into Stata, but it says to us, no, data in memory will be lost. The reason this occurs is because you already have data loaded into Stata, and it's trying to protect you from replacing it with the new data. So the option to fix this is just to type clear at the end as an option, so that it will have permission to clear the data in memory and upload the new variables. Another common error is when you upload data, which seems to work fine, but then when you go and do calculations with the data, you are told type mismatch. The reason is because when we uploaded our data, we can see that one of the columns here is in red, which means that Stata uploaded it as text. So why did this occur? Well, it usually means there's a problem with your data when uploading. If we go to the bottom, here we can see that there was an NA in this row, which caused Stata to upload the entire column as text. So there's two ways around that. One is just to delete the NA if this was just an error, but the better way is to avoid manual work in Stata if your data was provided that way, just by running a dstring command. Here, we're telling to turn the text into numeric and ignore the NA. So when we check our data is black, which means that it's numeric. Another way this shows up is if we upload our data and say try to convert the monthly data to quarterly, Stata will say, hey, I can't take text and average it. So it's important to dstring and always check your data after uploading. A common error that can occur is when we are running a command, it will say that our variable is not found. The most common reason for this is because Stata is case sensitive and spelling sensitive. So we're trying to take a log. It's called EMP, but you can see in the data that it is lowercase EMP, where here it was uppercase. So all we need to do is convert this to lowercase to get the command to work. Alternatively, we're trying to run a time series operator, such as taking a leg, but we're told that the variable month is not found. The reason is because it had previously been set to month. We had just converted it to quarterly data, but we forgot to reset the time and tell data to operate in time series mode with quarterly data. So all we need to do is rerun the tsset command, and then we can use our leg operator. Not all mistakes cause errors. Here, I'm just uploading quarterly data. I set my time variable and I graph it, but I've inadvertently shifted history by 10 years. Our data starts in 61, but I accidentally set the time variable to start in 71. This is why it's really important to double check each step, especially after you upload your data. And of course, all we need to do to fix it is to set our dates correctly so that they align with our data. Finally, the error invalid syntax. We're trying to run a command, but Stata says that it's invalid. This is because we're not providing the command in the way Stata expects. Here, it's because we're trying to use locals to automatically set our dates. So we're trying to get the first year of our time series year and our first quarter of our time series for quarters and use them automatically in our date. The problem is that if we run locals step by step, Stata forgets the locals as soon as the command is done running. So the solution is to run all the code with locals in one block. This means Stata doesn't forget the local command while it's running. So now you know how to deal with questions about debugging in interviews. You should also be able to handle about 90% of errors that you'll encounter in Stata. In the next video, we're going to jump into economic analysis. The best economists I know the data better than anybody else. I'm going to show you what you need to know the data. See you there.